Okay. Oops. Well, not oops, but Okay, so actually we had a valid question. No, pose your question again, please.
Is the test of everything multiple choice?
Yeah, for the most part, the exam will be multiple choice, okay? You will take the exam at the Health Academy in the West 90s after you finish the online component. So the online component, for each module, there are 15 modules total. At the end of each module, there's a small quiz, okay? Basically, it's a little, drop-down menu, true-false type of scenario. Once you complete all of those modules and you get your completion for the online course, you take that, you register for the exam, and like I said, you can schedule the exam at your leisure whenever you want to take it. You pay for it online, you go to the Health Academy the day of your scheduled test, you bring your verification forms to show, this is me, I passed it, this is my code numbers and what have you. Yes, in Manhattan, on the Upper West Side, right off of the number 1 train in 96th Street, and it's like 3 or 4 blocks away from there. It's not, it's very, very easy. It used to be in Harlem. Yeah. So it's very, very simple. Like I said, I think they give you like 2 hours to do it. But it's, like I said, it's not anything to stress over. Like I said, it's very, it's common sense. Like once you've gone over the information, it's kind of like, okay, this is this, this is that. The study guide that you guys will get next week at the end of class is kind of geared towards all of the disciplines that will be on the test. Okay? All right? Do not forget to email me. Those of you that are here in this room and those of you that are out there watching, do not forget to email me. I want to see, I think there's 31 people here. Not sure how many people are streaming, but I should see a minimum, in theory, if we say, let's say we have 30 here and 30 watching. So I should see a minimum of 60 email requests in my inbox. I like responding to emails. Okay, I like responding to legitimate emails. So email me the information. I will send it back to you right away, okay? Starting tonight from about 7, 8 p.m. on through tomorrow, on through to Monday. I do not work Mondays, okay? So if you do not get a response from me by Monday at the latest, that basically means I did not get your email, which is why I provided 2 addresses, okay? So send one, like I said, send one to the BCC address and copy the Gmail address onto it so I know that it'll come to both of my inboxes. All right? So, moving right along. All right? Yeah, we need to darken this a little bit. Okay, so what are hazards to our health? All right, what are hazards to our health? Foodborne illnesses are caused by the presence of foreign objects, chemicals, and other living organisms in our food. Okay? These can be described, of course, as hazard to our health. First classification are your physical hazards. All right? How many of us, we like our red beans and rice? Okay? And of course, as you know, Mami and Abuelita taught us, do you get it out of a can? No. You go, you get the dry beans, you make, you chop up your onions and your peppers, you take your seasonings and you do it, the old-fashioned way, so to speak, right? That's how you make the blessed, red beans, black beans, whatever, right? But, you know what? Examples that could be found in certain things like that. Tiny pebbles, all right? Sometimes found in bags of rice, bags of beans and peas. Fragments of glass from a broken glass due to scooping ice with a glass instead of using an ice scoop. Broken light bulbs falling onto the floor. Yes?
I'm so sorry. For some reason, they're not getting us yet.
Okay. Can they hear us?
Can they hear us? No, right? Nothing yet.
What's that one?
So I have stream on.
No, I think it's red.
I already have the stream and I'm recording.
Is anyone there? Okay, this is still kind of like trippy. Not that, but you know, like. Guys, hold on a second because we're having trouble here in the other end.
No. What are hazards to our health? Huh? No.
I mean, I'm about to, but. Okay, that's a recording of me.
So the screen should be what are hazards to our health? What are hazards to our health?
I didn't say anything. Well, don't you? Oh, if anyone doesn't have a packet, okay, we made some more copies. You can get them right there, okay? If anyone's missing the packet from earlier, yeah, if you didn't get one earlier, grab one here. No, just that. No, these are in there. Those are in there, yeah. Okay. Hold on one second, because we're trying to figure out technical. You need one? Oh, go ahead. No, you make the appointment. Yeah. That's why I said, like if you, like next week after we finish, if you decide, you know what, let me study for a few more weeks before I do this and that, you can, like I said, you can finish the online units at your leisure. You can schedule your certification exam at your leisure. Okay? However, I do have a requirement after you take your test and you pass, because I know all of you will, here and there, send me an email with a snapshot of your card. Okay? No, because in the old days, and I'm surprised I still have mine, it used to be, you would have to go take a passport photo. You went to the health academy. They would say, okay, they want 4 photos. They would take 2 of them. What they did with the other 2, I have no idea. Maybe Big Brother is still watching. But they took 2 of them. One you actually saw go into a file that they, into a historical file. And then the one went on the certificate. Some of you'll probably see, some look like mugshots. And they're all like serious looking. And it says, certificate in, safe food handling. So, a little over 10 years ago, they decided to get the program. And now you get a card like that. But you get it this is now your food handler certificate, but you get it the same day, okay, that you take the test. You take the test, they score it, you pass, and then you go into a little room, so, make sure you're presentable. I wasn't this day. I look like a serial killer in this photo. Because what I had done was I had, some passport photo duplicates, when I look proper. So I'm thinking, okay, they're just going to take one of those and make a new one. And the guy's like, oh, no, come sit over here. I'm like, I'm wearing a ball cap, ain't brushed the head, like, haven't had the coffee yet. Seriously? So I'm like, almost similar to this one, which is my campus photo, which I need to retake, by the way. They will, like, how much will it cost me to go and retake my photo? I'm not being funny. Okay, I will, listen, I will pay. Do you see this? Had someone said, okay, we're going to snap you with your, sweatshirt and your scarf on. Okay, are we okay now or no? Oh, okay, G, thank you. Hello again out there, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so moving right along. So as we started talking about hazards to our health, all right, first type of hazard are your physical hazards, presence of, foreign objects in food that should not normally be there, okay? This can happen intentionally or unintentionally. Hopefully, it's in an unintentional circumstance, okay? We, talked about tiny pebbles that are sometimes found in, dried beans and peas and rice, glass that could fall into an ice bin or an ice machine because instead of using a proper ice scoop, they wind up using a glass. And then the glass, of course, hits one of the hard surfaces, it breaks, and then you have to do what's called burning. Essentially, you get hot water, you melt all of the ice to clean out the glass, and then you have to wash, rinse, and sanitize that unit before you can start it back up again or refill it with ice, depending on where it happened. If it happened behind the bar in the bar sink, it's a little bit easier than if it happened in your, in your actual ice machine, because that can be a pain in the butt. I'm just going to be honest, it is. Okay? And it's also very, very wasteful because now, you're slowing production down off your bar, you're slowing production in your kitchen for cooks that may need ice to, prep food and hold food. But it does happen. Not to say it like this, put the fear of God into your bartenders and your kitchen staff that anytime they go to the ice machine to get ice, they should use the scoop or else. Okay? So, short, unfrilled toothpicks used to hold a sandwich together. People used to think that those toothpicks with the little plastic things on the end, that they were done to be pretty. No, they're not done to be pretty. They're actually done so that the toothpick doesn't go all the way into the sandwich. Okay? Because it's not too comfortable. You're sitting there, you're eating a nice little Italian hoagie, and all of a sudden, what? And you pull out a toothpick that's now jammed into the roof of your mouth. Probably put a nice little puncture wound in your tongue. It's not pretty, or painful, or gentle, all right? Bandages. If you get a cut, if somebody gets a cut, yes, clean it properly, treat it properly, bandage, finger cut, or finger condom as some may call them, and then on top of that, a glove. No exposed bandages. Even with some of these new bandages that kind of hermetically seal the wound, okay? It's still a bandage. It still has somewhat of a raised edge where water and bacteria can start to breed outside of the injured, affected area, okay? Get a finger cut over it and a glove, all right? Whether you're handling ready-to-eat foods or potentially hazardous foods, okay? Yes.
Put a finger what?
Cot, C-O-T.
A finger cut.
Yeah.
What might that be?
It literally looks like, not being funny, it looks like a small condom, like a really, really skinny condom. But some people call them, like some packaging will call it finger cuts, some packaging will call it finger condoms. Generally, if you have a medical kit, a med kit, in your professional environment, there'll be some in there next to all of the first aid supplies. Okay, most restaurants you'll find, like bandages, you'll find the plastic bandages, mesh bandages, knuckle tips, fingertips. You'll usually have antibiotic gel, burn gel, styptic pins for stopping blood flow, and then they'll have the finger cuts as well. There's usually two types. Usually the white ones are a little bit tighter than the blue ones, okay? Because, they large fingers, small fingers, things of that nature, okay? But if you have a situation where you've had to treat a wound in the kitchen and the person can still function, you don't have to send them to the hospital per se, do make sure you have a finger cut and you have a glove on them. And when I say that, I mean a minor cut or a minor scrape, okay? If you are bleeding profusely or it's cut deep, get them out of the line, get them out of the prep kitchen, get them off the floor, get them to a hospital, okay? Sick pay will cover their lost hours at work that day. Give them that assurance. That's why we have all of these new, ordinances and laws in place, okay? It's to protect your staff, it's to protect your business, it's to protect your clientele, Cool? Good. So, metal shavings from a worn can opener. How many people realize when you open things with a can opener, whether it's at home, whether it's a manual can opener, an electric can opener, or in a professional kitchen, it's a big old hulking heavy industrial sized can opener, you're actually getting little metal shavings from the blade, okay? I can tell you right now, in your professional environment, if you have a commercial can opener, make sure after every single solitary use, someone has come along with the rag that's been dipped in sanitizer solution and they wipe the blade. Okay? Get one or two of those disposable electric toothbrushes, the battery-powered electric toothbrushes, scrub the blade housing down every single day, just in case something viscous happens to get on it, because a dirty can opener blade and your health inspector will literally pick it up, shine a flashlight on it, and go to work like he's a forensic agent, dissecting a body on a table, okay? Like he's performing an autopsy, to find the most minuscule amount of crud or dirt or material. Because a dirty can opener blade is an automatic critical violation. Can anybody tell me why? Bacteria, exactly. If I open a can of tuna first thing in the morning to prep tuna salad, right, and I don't wipe the blade off and I sit it back down onto the blade rest, and I come along, I open a can of tomatoes, don't rinse it off. Then, oh, you know what, we have to do the fruit salad for the kids, so we need to open the peaches and the pears and the cherries and the pineapple tidbits. Am I now taking the tuna bacteria, adding it to the tomato bacteria, adding it to the fruit? Yeah. Okay? It is a cesspool, for lack of a better term, of bacteria. Okay? You have to keep that clean. If you don't have chemical sanitizer, because the cost is prohibitive, 20 parts per million bleach in water, okay, will do the same thing. But you need to wash it first, make sure you dry it, and then sanitize it between each use, after every use, okay? And you need to ingrain in your staff, you open the can, immediately wash the blade before you put it back into the rest. All right? Scouring pads, no longer allowed in restaurants. Have been for years, however, they have always, they've turned not a slightly blind eye, but they have never really seriously enforced it. Now they do. Because, of course, what happened at McDonald's? Somebody bit into a chicken nugget. They got a little piece of that wire scrubber in the meat from the nugget, got in their mouth, chew, 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 scraped up the gums, scratched up the teeth. Okay? So not only were they paying thousands of dollars in dental work, but then they went and they sued. Got a couple of million out of the deal. We don't want that happening. Okay? Pieces of jewelry. If you wear jewelry, should they be on you when you're working in the kitchen? Nope. Okay? Some businesses will relax as far as a wedding band. Because in general, it's plain, plain, simple, Anything that has, any type of jewelry that has a stone in it, no. Okay? If you have a fancy watch, I advise you get a plain little G-Shock or watch from, the local, hole-in-the-wall store for wearing in the kitchen if you absolutely have to have a watch on your wrist. Earrings out, nose rings out, and things of that particular nature, boom, off of your person, especially if you are producing food. Okay? Anything can happen. Okay, it can fall in. If you're like in a warehouse environment and what have you, yeah, they have, powerful magnets and catches and things that will, will snag onto it, but there's always the possibility that something may slip by. Chemical hazards, all right? Once again, just like your physical hazards can happen intentionally or unintentionally, deliberately or naturally, all right? For instance, how many people here like vinegar? Okay, what is vinegar made from? Anybody know? Bingo. Technically, vinegar, yeah, can also be made from apples. Essentially, vinegar is pretty much wine that has gone bad, okay, and has been exposed to heat and additional sugar. Not really fermentation, but essentially air, oxidation, sugar consumption produce vinegar from old wine. In essence, that's one of those things, can that happen deliberately? Can that happen intentionally? No, not necessarily. Can it happen inadvertently? Of course. All right? Of course, nowadays, a lot of people, they buy these home brew kits to, brew your own beer, make your own wine. Or better yet, a friend of mine got into juicing, okay? Wanted to make his own Concord grape juice, did not realize that after he juiced the juice, he put it in the mason jars and, put it in the canning thing to boil it to make sure that, all the bacteria was killed off and da-da-da-da-da. But he didn't realize that he had to refrigerate them. So he refrigerated a few of them. He put the rest in his kitchen cabinet, not realizing, oh, they're starting to ferment. So he got stopped by the cop. The cop was like, what's this? It's an open container. Popped it open. He got arrested for transporting alcohol across state lines. All right? Got to be very, very careful. All right? Some common examples of how to avoid chemical hazards: using experienced licensed exterminators. In New York State, you actually have to use exterminators that are licensed. You can't go out, grab the average, can of Raid and just be like, okay, I saw something weird in the storage room, spray it down. Doesn't happen, okay? Because these products are essentially the bulk of the products used by licensed exterminators specifically for food environments are going to be food grade. Even though there are some poisonous, aspects to them, they're not necessarily going to contaminate the whole area. Okay? Generally, they will do the job as needed for the purposes of treatment, and then you can come in the next day with gloves on, wipe off any residue, if any. Okay? Storing any cleaning or other chemicals, including personal medications. Everybody that works there, somebody may need to take an aspirin or, a Tylenol. Somebody, the, regular, floor cleaner, kitchen degreaser, for use on equipment and things of that particular nature, they have to be stored in designated areas. It can't just be sitting on a counter, okay? And even in your storage area, they have to be stored in a very specific way, okay? If you have dispenser units for your sanitizer, your general cleaner, your floor cleaner, your degreaser, great, okay? They have to be attached to that dispenser unit in a certain fashion that's certified by the Department of Health and OSHA. Okay? The general storage has to be done a certain way. Okay? They will generally mandate what type of containers can be utilized, how they should be stored. 9 times out of 10, you will only wind up getting those products from suppliers that are certified by the Department of Health as well as the Environmental Protection Agency, which is a very, very big thing, because not only is the concern of how effective the product works when you use it, now they're also concerned about what type of harm can it possibly do to the environment after we've done what? We've rinsed everything off and it flows down the drain. All right? Storing acidic foods in containers made of food-grade plastic, okay? Because do acids and metals mix? Nope. Anybody here ever buy a slice of pizza? A couple of slices of pizza? And what happened? You finish part of it in the pizza shop and take the rest back home, you wrap it up in foil paper, and the next day you notice you have this gray residue on the top of the pizza? That's because the tomato sauce or the pasta sauce is acidic. Okay? It's reacted to the metal in the aluminum foil, which is why you get that graying. Same thing happens with barbecue sauce. Yeah, so now you know, next time don't plastic wrap after the barbecue. Because, you get upset. You have some, have a good sandwich at the barbecue, and it's kind of like, oh, man, what happened the next day? So, a chemical can be introduced to a food item deliberately to enhance its taste or appearance without realizing that it may cause consumers to become ill. And this is a very, very big thing. How many people here eat Chinese food? Show off. Really? No. Whether it's high end, whether it's low end, whether it's the local neighborhood spot. At least everybody in here has had food out of a Chinese restaurant at least once. Yes? Okay? Now, if there are any Asians viewing us on the stream, this is not meant to offend anybody. This is just a statement of fact. So, a lot of places you see a sign that says no MSG on the menu. Okay? MSG stands for monosodium glutamate, commonly known as a flavor enhancer. Okay? It is not that. Monosodium glutamate is actually a mild form of a vasodilator. Essentially what it does, it opens up capillaries in the human body. Okay? So, it's kind of a principle of, do we have chalk? Yes, there's a piece. Okay. Hopefully you all can see this. So, let's say this is the surface of your tongue. Okay? And your taste buds, so to speak, are shaped like little tulips, right? So your taste buds are there, and basically how do we get our sensation of taste? You know, the juices and all of the wonderful little things from food run over them, they run in, it's kind of like, okay, this is an apple, this is a slice of pizza, this is a hamburger, okay? What monosodium glutamate, or MSG, does, it basically opens your taste buds more, okay? So if it's like this, after having something with MSG, it opens up more, and so now what happens? More of those flavorful juices and acids and sugars flow into the taste buds, giving an enhanced sense of taste, okay? Some people have gastric sensitivities to things such as MSG, okay? That's why, you know, like usually a lot of people have reactions in Chinese food restaurants and things of that particular nature, because it was one of those things they added to help enhance the flavor under the guise of enhancing the flavor of the food, okay? Generally, it was done really to add a little bit of moisture to product if the product started to dry out in the wok cooking process. However, how many people here like barbecue sauce? Okay? How many people here buy Goya products? All right? My Latinos do not get upset, but this is true. Sazon, okay? The vegetable seasoning, the ham seasoning, I'm being dead serious. When you go home, because I know I have it in my kitchen cabinet now, look at the first ingredient, and it says monosodium glutamate. Okay? Not necessarily bad for everyone, but bad for some. Okay? But it is very, very commonplace. Most barbecue sauces, commercial barbecue sauces, Kraft, Heinz, it is the first ingredient. Okay? Because generally, 9 times out of 10, are we always going to heat barbecue sauce right out of the bottle? No. Right? Generally, what will happen? We'll usually have a little bit extra on the table for pouring, you know, and what have you. And, you know, 9 times, what do? You've got your chicken that's come off the grill, throw a little bit of sauce on, done. Okay? They do that so that you get that nice, wonderful, rounded flavor. Okay? If you ever notice something that's hot always tastes a lot better than something that's cold, because it's had heat introduced to it, more of the oils and sugars and acids release because of the heat. All right? You know, as we said, use of excessive sulfites. Sulfites, anybody here eat canned fruit? All right? They add sulfites to canned fruit as a preservative to essentially keep the color. Okay? Not necessarily harmful, but if you eat a lot of canned fruit all of the time, it can start to, you know, you get a little, you know, stomach upset, you may get gassy, you may get belchy. Oh, I'm kind of like, all right, no. What did you? Okay. Just a moment, everyone. Why do I feel like saying Mrs. Dollar from Tu Wong Fu? Huh? Are we back?
No, we're actually not. All right, go ahead.
Okay. And a hush falls over the crowd. All right. So, the third, toxic metals. And this you actually need to be very, very careful about because we have talked about the fact that if you're going to store food, you need to use non-reactive metals. So, utensils that are made from lead, copper, brass, zinc, antimony, and cadmium are not permitted for use with food products. They can cause metal poisoning from the leaching of these chemicals into the food. And the weird thing about it, they will have no smell or no odor, and some of them you will not see a color change. Okay? How many people here have relatives that literally have silver or sterling silver silverware? Okay, sterling silver. Not silver plate, sterling silver. Where after a few uses, they start to turn from like, a brilliant silver to yellow to black. You gotta sit there and polish for hours on end, okay? Do you know why they started actually making silverware from genuine silver? All right, because it's a reactive metal. Remember in olden days, you always heard those stories in medieval times and stuff like that about the food taster? Okay, about the royal taster, they would taste the food before the king ate it, and if the food taster was fine, then that meant that the king could eat it. Okay, well, this was basically, not being funny, this was their way to cut labor costs and get rid of the food taster, because essentially, if there was something poisoning, if there was something poisonous or toxic, when the king stuck the fork into the food and pulled it out, if there was a color change, something's wrong. Not knowing that, if he was dining on a plate of spaghetti that night, it's going to react to the silver anyway because of the acid content. All right? So, household cleaning agents as well should not be used in a professional environment. Okay? The home type of food storage containers, like the Gladware and things like that, should not be used in a professional environment. Okay? They're not suitable for that type of storage in a large, commercial kitchen environment. Okay? Huge no-no. Biological hazards. Pretty much microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi. All right? Mushrooms, we talked about that, mentioned it briefly earlier. Mushrooms can be poisonous and non-poisonous. Generally, we're eating non-poisonous varieties. Don't grab any off of trees. Okay, I've seen it happen. They may not necessarily kill you, but they can make you very, very sick. All right? But it's one of these situations where, in some instances, especially like with fish will have certain things called tetrodotoxin and saxitoxin. Anyone ever hear of, how many people here eat sushi? Okay? Okay, so what's the number one challenge people want to do? Fugu. Right? Pufferfish, Japanese pufferfish, okay? So, out of that whole big, cute, weird-looking spiny fish, about that much of it is actually edible, okay? They try to get as close to the bloodline of the fish as possible because the rest of it is highly, highly poisonous. That is actually, I think it's tetrodotoxin, okay? It's a paralytic. It could stop your heart, okay, and kill you. That's why they, say, it seems as to be like this highly dangerous status symbol, and if you do it, you're so. Be mindful, be aware, be careful, okay? Especially 9 times out of 10, if someone is exposed to that, it's not actually because they ate it, it's because somebody in the back was irresponsible when they were processing it, left it on a cutting board, some of the toxins leached out onto the equipment, and they didn't properly do what? Clean and sanitize the equipment, clean and, wash their hands, okay? Oh, yeah, by the way, tetrodotoxin and saxitoxin is 1,200 times more deadly than cyanide. Mind you, we all know cyanide kills instantly, all right? So, now the other side of the coin is, okay, if we're taking all of these steps to make sure that we're preventing, all of these hazards. How can someone still potentially get sick? All right? The food chain, certain predatory fish, such as barracudas, eels, will feed on smaller fish, okay, that could potentially have been exposed to a contaminant, right? Most fish will feed on what? Algae, plankton, and other sea life. That's actually pretty much how red tide, was discovered, all right? It wasn't the fact that they noticed that there was a new strain of algae. The algae pretty much looked like algae. It wasn't until people were getting, seriously sick and a few died that they were like, okay, wait a second, what's going on here? And they started, after running tests on the, on the bodies, they noticed the commonality that, they had ingested seafood, and then they started looking into, okay, why is the seafood contaminated? Hence the red tide algae, okay? Of course, as it says, toxicity accumulates in the smaller fish. The fish that eats the smaller fish, of course, produce ciguatoxin. One of those is called ciguatera. Scromboid is very, very specific, actually. So, tuna, mackerel, a few other non-scromboidite fish, such as bluefish, dolphin, and amberjacks, they have high levels of histidine in their flesh, okay? That happens pretty much during the time after they've been captured and harvested, okay? Which is why they say, fresh is best, because from the moment a fish or any type of animal dies, it starts to break down and decompose, okay? However, these are oilier fish. They're a little more hardy, a little more firm in texture, okay? But because of all of those, healthy natural fats and things that you find in them, they break down faster and they produce more toxins and a lot quicker. All right, so fresh is best. If you can get frozen, fine. Be mindful when you're buying it. Okay, check, recheck. Even if it's just you're gonna grab a side of salmon to cook at home. All right, look at it. I was in a Whole Foods and saw a parasite. I felt great that the fish was fresh, but I was like, yeah, not buying that because I can see that little worm just going like this under the packaging. Okay? Now, they actually have very, very, very good controls. Okay? It's not like someone's going to scour, that side of salmon while they're processing it, but it's one of these situations where it had burrowed into the flesh of the fish. They had gone, they scaled the fish, they filleted it, they rinsed it, they packaged it, and all of a sudden it was like, wait a second, half my food source is going, what's coming on, and it came to the surface. Yes?
I have a question. What is the situation about the blue cheese?
Oh, mold in cheese?
No, blue cheese.
Yeah, blue cheese has mold in it.
Yeah, because the blue cheese is a bacteria. This is good bacteria, right?
Yes, that's good bacteria. When you're making cheeses, yes. Yes, you've got mold in certain varieties of blue cheese. There are certain forms of cheese that have live maggots in them. It's considered a delicacy. I know somebody on the other end probably just went, ew. All right, the first time my daughter had blue cheese, yeah, she did that. She used to actually think Swiss cheese had holes in it because worms used to go through it and stuff like that, or the mice used to chew and tunnel through the cheese. Bacteria for cheese making, for cheese producing, that's live bacteria. It's generally inert outside of the purposes of producing that particular product. Okay? It's a very, very, very controlled environment. All right? So, by the way, really quick, as we were talking about histidine produced by the amberjack and dolphins and things of that particular nature, that's actually converted into histamine, okay, which can cause an allergy or allergic type reaction, all right? Symptoms amongst this illness, among other things, mimic a heart attack, okay? If you get this fish and it is infected with this toxin and that happens, histamine is not destroyed by cooking, okay? For instance, an example, anybody ever get a small cut on their finger and you notice that the area immediately around it starts to swell up, okay? That's your body producing histamine because it's saying, wait a second, something just happened here that shouldn't have happened. Something is here that's not supposed to be here. I need to protect myself. I go into protect mode. Same thing happens when someone is having an anaphylactic attack, okay? Something has entered the body that should not be there, and the body starts to release histamine to protect itself. That's why, your sinuses and your throat will swell and everything. All right? So be mindful of that. Yes.
No question. Just I want to know, have you any video clips? Listen, lots of hazard. Okay?
Yeah, we have photos and a few other things too.
Have you any video clips?
Of what specifically?
I mean, food handling. Just lots of hazard. Just the picture you show up.
Well, there are like photos in the manual. You'll see like different photos and things like that. Just like the bacterial index for all of, like the different diseases and stuff that will be listed in your manual. So when you send me the email, you'll get that. But they're not specific like video clips, because it's kind of, you can show someone and like you can show a video clip of somebody like how the proper way to like handle chicken or handle seafood, but it's not easy to like show bacterial infection. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. But but you can find examples. You can find examples of like the proper way to prep fish in batches, prep chicken in batches online. Trying to make sure this mic doesn't go on the roll. So with that being said, all right, food allergies. Very, 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 very dangerous. There is actually a debate right now when it comes to daycare centers or child care programs, when it comes to boarding schools, colleges and universities, day camps, sleepaway camps, okay? Because we're in an era right now where a lot of people are concerned about labels, right? I'm sorry, if my kid is allergic to nuts, I'm not worried about somebody thinking, oh, little Timmy's allergic to nuts. No, little Timmy's allergic to nuts. You know what? If you come near him with a peanut butter or chocolate cookie or Reese's peanut butter cup, you and I are going to have a serious problem. Okay? There is no shame in being a protective, effective parent and letting people know, hey, my child has an allergy. However, there are some that look at that as my child is being labeled. Stop it. Okay? Food allergies are serious. They're not to be messed with. Okay? My little brother is allergic to shellfish. New Year's Eve, he goes over to his ex-fiance's house. They were engaged then. But this is actually one of the instances that caused the breakup. But they're there. They're having a great dinner. He had one meal. Everyone else had shrimp with rice. Midnight happens. He kisses his fiancée on the lips. Not even 5 minutes later, his face starts to swell up, his throat starts to close. Thankfully, I make sure before he goes anywhere, he has an EpiPen, because I'm constantly saying, do you have it? Do you have it? Send me a photo of it in your bag. All right, it's my little brother. I got to look out for him. All right, but there is no cure for food allergies. Some reactions can happen instantaneously. Generally, you will have a 5 to 15 minute window for a reaction, okay? But depending on the person, depending on the type of allergy, it can be minor or it can be severe, okay? They're all potentially lethal and should not be taken lightly. They can kill someone, okay? Common symptoms, the mild ones: itching, wheezing, hives, swelling of the face and the eyes, okay? If you don't have an EpiPen, at least try to have some liquid Benadryl so you can get it into the system to help to slow down the production of the histamine, okay? However, what is the first thing you need to do? Make sure you have a clear head, grab a phone, call 911, and be very specific and say, hi, this is a food allergy. I have someone who is potentially going into anaphylactic shock, okay? They will generally get there like that, and they have the resources to treat on site, okay? As they're, yes, they're gonna take them and bring them to a hospital, but they have the means to slow the reaction, okay? Severe loss of consciousness due to airway obstruction and death. It does happen, okay? This is one of the food allergies is actually one of the reasons why in most restaurants you have what's called. No problem. Don't let it happen again. Okay? Just don't let it happen again. So, food allergies is one of the major, besides, being truthful to the consumer, there's a term called truth in menu laws, truth in advertising laws, and things of that particular nature, okay? Even in a daycare environment, truth in menu laws applies because if you have a meal plan for those students on, let's say, a 30-day cycle, and the parents get a copy of it sent to them, you better make darn sure everything that's on that menu is what's going to be given to those kids and that nothing variates from that. Okay, that there's no variance from how the food is prepped, cooked, and served, and what they're being cooked and served, okay? Because it can be a simple mistake, and it can cost someone their life, all right? Guy went into a Mexican-themed restaurant, ordered a bowl of chili, 3 bites in, grabs his throat, collapses, ambulance doesn't get there fast enough, he dies. Turns out they used peanut butter to counteract some of the acidic notes in the tomato, but as well, apparently, it helped to thicken and round out all the spices. The guy's allergic to peanuts. It's not on their menu. Okay? It was one of those things that, the chef did because that was his thing, to, make it, to make the product better. Unfortunately, it cost that person their life. So, 8 most common allergies: fish, peanuts, wheat, soy, tree nuts, eggs, milk, and shellfish. Okay? These 8 foods, as well as any food that contains proteins from one or more of these foods, are called major food allergens by law. Okay? Anyone know what celiac disease is? Okay, you hear a lot of people say that they're eating gluten-free nowadays. Okay? Celiac disease basically is an autoimmune disorder where the body cannot properly process gluten, okay, which is generally found in most wheat products and things of that veil. But gluten is also found in soy, okay? If they have a legitimate celiac issue, they're going to avoid that, okay? I had a colleague for years, heavy, was always sickly. After about 5 or 6 years of feeling, like crap, he goes and sees a doctor, they're like, he has celiac disease. Okay. Switched his whole diet, but then maybe 6 months went from being like this to this. Okay. Because for all that time, his body was having one gigantic histamine reaction to ingesting gluten. All right. Gluten is not the devil. Okay, for those of you that are here and out there, it is not evil, okay? But yes, there are some people that have difficulty processing it and digesting it, okay? So, some other additives that trigger allergies. Whoa, okay, got a little loud.
I'm sorry, everyone. I turned up the speaker because I can't hear the mic. The mic is it's on, but you can't hear it.
No, I don't think you're supposed to hear that one. I think, no, I know you hear my feed, but I think the other one is for the other side programmed, I think.
Yeah, but they can't hear it.
Oh, okay, all right. So, well, I'll lean in to the other question. All right, so how many people here like bacon? By show of hands. I know I can't see you guys out there, but by show of hands, how many people here like bacon? Be honest. Bacon. Bacon. Well, some of you can't, of course, but for those that can, nobody ever have, bacon and eggs in the morning, bacon and pancakes? Okay, right. Real good. Bacon contains nitrites, okay? Partially because of color, as well as to help, preserve it, contribute to that smoky flavor and all those other wonderful little things, all right? Some people are very, very sensitive to nitrites, okay? Nitrites, also known as saltpeter. Anybody ever eat corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day?
Yes, every St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, boom. Nitrates are added to the corned beef brisket to keep it nice and pink, all right? If you have a sensitivity to it, it's not going to kill you. You're not going to go into anaphylactic shock, but you could, get a little gassy, get a little belchy. All right? Look at it this way. Anybody here drink beer? What happens when you drink a beer really, really fast? You belch. Kind of like the similar scenario if you have a sensitivity to nitrites and sulfites and things of that particular nature. You get belchy, 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 or you get gassy, gassy, gassy. To paraphrase Shrek, better out than in. All right? Sulfites, generally added to dried and preserved fruits and vegetables for freshness. You can also find sulfites in a very, very, very popular beverage. Okay? It's becoming trendy again, just like beer. Starts with a W.
Water.
Wine. Exactly. Wine. Because everybody is getting, they're getting back into wine again, right? How many wine? Because remember when we were younger, you used to see, Ernest and Julio Gallo, you saw Renita commercials. Now we're seeing like all of these vineyards popping up, which are, Yellowtail and, what's the other one? Frontera and stuff, which is good, okay? But, huh? Yeah, Barefoot, Nick's Moscato and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind there is a difference between something that's labeled as wine and then wine product. Wine product is completely different, leave it alone, but they contain sulfites. Some people have sensitivities to sulfites, all right? And of course, we talked about MSG, all right? Hidden ingredients, once again, make sure that everything that's going into that dish is known and listed. Part of that comes by the use of a standardized recipe, and you instill in your staff and put the fear of God in them and say, hi, this is how it's made, this is how it's always going to be made, and if you're not going to make it like this or think that you may feel that, you want to get creative, don't. It will be your job, okay? Especially in a childcare environment, because 9 times out of 10, at least 20% of that group of children is going to have some type of food sensitivity issue. It's just a fact, okay? And food allergies don't necessarily pop up out of the blue. Generally, it's genetic for a lot of families, okay? It may skip a generation or two, but someone, along the lines, a few people in the family line may be afflicted. Yes?
Hospital food that never tastes like home food. And they're going through all of this.
Yeah, that's why, okay. Hospital food, but it depends on which hospital. I'm not going to give any endorsements to any hospitals in particular. However, I visited a friend, and I kid you not, 1, I was impressed by the spread. The second, I was impressed by the quality, and 3, it actually tasted really good. I was shocked. But generally, yeah, but like hospital menus, they're very, very, planned and thought out. Generally, somebody from the dietary department will come to you when you're admitted and say, okay, what are your likes? What are your dislikes? Do you have any allergies? Do you have any sensitivities? So that your meal is geared specifically towards you, even though they have a general menu that, that goes out to everyone every day. But they will have, gluten-free meals. They will have meals for, people that have type 1 and type 2 diabetes. They will have meals for people that have high blood pressure and things of that nature. Yes. My mother actually had extremely low blood pressure before she died. They were actually jacking up her salt intake to elevate her blood pressure. It was crazy. Customer safety. In order to protect your customers, right, you have to have full disclosure. Once again, truth in menu, truth in advertising, okay? Describe the details of the items. If you're uncertain about an ingredient, inform the customer immediately. They're not asking you to be a pain in the butt. They are asking you because they are trying to protect themselves. Okay? How do we properly protect them on our end? We plan, right? We establish our policies, we establish our techniques, and we make sure that they are followed and adhered to. Okay? Now, you can do all of that, and you can still have an instance where an allergen can make it into food, can't you? Case in point, let's say you have 2 pastas. One has seafood, one has chicken, okay? You have your, you have your staff behind the hotline, and they're standing there, and they're serving the children, they're serving the, the guests and stuff like that. and by accident somebody drops the chicken pasta spoon on the floor. Should you not have a backup spoon ready to go? Yes, because 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen? The impulse is going to be, oh, wow, oh no, well, I have one over here. Pull it out of the seafood batch, stick it inside the chicken batch. Do we now have to throw that whole remaining batch of pasta away? Yes, because it's now contaminated with oils from the seafood. All right? Like I said, some things, you'll really start to think a little more. Yes? Oh, stretch. Okay. All right? Wash hands thoroughly. Use new sanitary gloves before preparing dishes for guests with food allergies. It's not an emergency. My kids. All right? Before you put the gloves on, as we said earlier, wash your hands. After you take the gloves off to change them, wash your hands. When you're working with foods that can cause allergies, change those gloves repeatedly. We're training a new expediter at the restaurant, and she didn't understand why I didn't mean to shout at her, but a few of our dishes have chopped walnuts as garnish. Okay? And as soon as I saw her stick her hand into the walnuts, I said, as soon as you put that plate in the window, pull your gloves off, wash your hands, put new gloves on. Why? I said because if you touch another product with gloves that just touch nuts, you can potentially give somebody an allergic reaction. Oh my God. And I'm not making fun of her, not being facetious, but this is one of these things you really, really, really have to think about. Okay? Because you're told, okay, put gloves on when you're handling ready-to-eat foods. Chopped nuts are ready-to-eat foods, but it's a potential allergen. Okay? Best way to handle it, have a spoon, okay, where you would scoop a little bit, sprinkle, scoop a little bit, and sprinkle. Do you still need to change the gloves? Yes, but you have a semi-safe barrier, so you're not going to have to change it after every use, okay? But of course, if people do wildly scooping, then yes, you will need to because residue will get onto that glove, all right? Never use equipment that was used to cook other foods, okay? As far as, if you've gone and let's say you sauteed, shrimp in a pan, and then you're gonna go and saute chicken, get a clean pot. Don't just say, oh, well, you know what, I have all these wonderful, flavorful oils. No. Yes, you have that flavorful oil from the seafood, and while it may, make that next dish taste great, guess what? Somebody could be allergic. It could be a minimal amount of, oil from, let's say, salmon or shrimp or, some clams that you were cooking, and it could end their picnic really quick, couldn't it? Yes. All right? Look out for splashes and spills. Remember, you can remove just because you are able to eliminate the potential allergen, it still doesn't make the dish safe. Okay? So, you can make a dish with somebody that doesn't have nuts, that doesn't have seafood, that doesn't have shellfish. If you still improperly handle all the other products in the production of that dish, is that dish still safe? No. Okay? So, yeah, here's where things are going to start getting gross. Remember, I did warn you guys, it would get a little iffy. So, bacteria. Okay, bacteria is everywhere. Bacteria essentially is trying to kill you. No if, no ands, no buts, no questions. Okay? It is. Some are beneficial, but for the most part, they want to take everybody out. They want to take me out. They want to take you out. They want to take out my chihuahua. It happens. But keep in mind, if 25,000 bacteria are placed in a line, that line would only be 1 inch long. 1 million bacteria can fit on the head of a pin. And I'm not talking about one of these. You know what I'm talking about? You know the old stick pins for sewing? Tiny, 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 tiny fine point. One of those. Okay? 1 million. So you can imagine how many things are just lurking around. All right? Now, bacteria is found everywhere. Surfaces, water, air, organic and inorganic matter. Okay, whether it's living or dead. 3 main types of shapes. You've got your bacilli, which are your oval shapes, your coci, or your coci, depending on where you're from, which are your spiral shape, and then you have your spirilla, which are these like spiral little squiggles and things of that particular nature. Okay? Generally, some have single chains, some have long strands, some are beneficial, some are not beneficial, some are active, some are inert. Spores are your next classification, all right? Spores are basically forms of vegetation. 9 times out of 10, they're going to occur from mold. They're not just going to pop out from anywhere. It's going to be, from mold, and then the mold gets to a certain stage, a little gust of air comes up and blows them around, all right? For instance, what medication do we have that actually came because a certain scientist left out a sandwich and it started to get moldy? A lot of people are actually allergic to it, but, Which antibiotic? Starts with a P. Penicillin. Penicillin was discovered completely by accident. Moldy bread. Okay? Moldy bread. I was like, really? Like, yeah. All right. But that completely, changed the medical establishment until, of course, what happens? You have people that are allergic to penicillin, which then led to, of course, amoxicillin, erythromycin, azithromycin, and things of that particular nature. All right? But it still, holds true today. All right? During the spore stage, bacteria do not reproduce or multiply. All right? As soon as the spores find themselves under the proper condition, they resume their normal vegetative state and their growth. Okay? Spores are designed to withstand a rigorous condition. They can withstand intense heat. They can, withstand intense cold. Some can withstand radiation. Okay? It's just a simple fact. You have to be very, very careful. All right? Thankfully, there aren't a lot of bacteria spore formers. All right? Generally, tetanus, anthrax, botulism, all right, are the most common diseases formed by spore formers. All right, tetanus, you go get a shot, ouch, you're good. Within 24 hours usually. Now, reproduction is happens by the bacteria splitting in 2. This is known as fission, okay? Just out of curiosity, does anybody see that last line in the first paragraph? It takes 20 to 30 minutes for bacteria to double in favorable conditions. So if you've got 1 million on the head of a pin, can you imagine what's all around us right now? When we get on a train, when we get inside an Uber or a Lyft, when you get on the subway, when you buy a sandwich at Subway. Okay? When, our little one comes along and they're playing outside and they run inside and they don't wash their hands and they open the fridge and they grab, an apple. Okay? Now, do not go home and start throwing everything out of your refrigerators. Because we actually had someone in the very, very first group that got really, really grossed out. And she was just like she couldn't deal. All right? But, be mindful, stop little, Johnny or whatever and be like, yo, bro, man, hit the sink real quick, wash your hands. Out of curiosity, how long should you actually wash your hands? How many seconds? 20. 20 seconds minimum, okay? Easiest way to remember, I'm not going to sing it, but sing happy birthday to you twice. It's 20 seconds exactly. Essentially, and this is not being sexist to anyone here or out there, but we have enough ladies in here who have gone to a salon to have their hair done. You know when your hair squeaks? After the shampoo person has gone in and done a thorough job of cleaning it, and you hear that little squeak when you rub your hands in your hair, all right? If you hold your fingers up like this after properly washing your hands, you should hear a similar squeak, okay? The number one thing I can tell you right now when it comes to bacteria being transmitted from one place to the next, and we all think, oh, I'm being so safe, it's such a great product, is this. 9 times out of 10, when you go out to dine somewhere, or to have a day at the beach, or to go to a barbecue, or pick up a sandwich, or stop by the little fast food place, okay, and you say, oh, let me use some hand sanitizer. There's only one problem. Do you wash your hands just before you leave the house? 9 times out of 10, yeah, because, you just the hair, do this, do that. All right, yeah, be clean, right? But what do? We take our keys, we put them in the door and turn the lock. How many other people have, used their keys in our lock? Are we not transmitting bacteria there? Yes. Touch the door handle. Walked over to the elevator or the stairwell of our buildings, or going down the banister outside of our homes, right? The mailman has come up, the UPS, person has come up. Neighbors in the buildings have come in, their guests have come in, right? Okay? So we've been exposed to about, really, a few trillion bacteria, and we haven't even made it outside yet. So you can imagine the thinking behind, oh, I'm going to use something that is alcohol-based and going to dry my skin out to eliminate bacteria. No, it does not do that, okay? It's alcohol-based. So in your fingerprints, you have these little lands and grooves. Guess what? Bacteria is on the surface. Even more bacteria are in the lands and grooves of your fingerprints. You put on alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and you go like this. What does the alcohol do? It evaporates, it dries. Whatever residual moisture that's already in your hands, it dries them out. Things begin to tighten. All of that bacteria that's down below the finger tip surface is now what? Brought up to the top. So where you may have had 2 million on each hand, you now potentially have 6 million or more. Okay? So if you honestly think, oh yeah, okay, I can eat my Whopper now. No. Duck inside the bathroom, wash your hands. All right? Use paper towel or an air dryer. Generally, not being funny, keep a pack of Kleenex. Get a little pocket pack of Kleenex. Because, nowadays, they want, they're trying to make make bathrooms so that you have to push out with the door so you can use your elbow to exit. Most of the, facilities are not compliant yet, so you still have to reach and pull. Sorry, yeah, pull out a tissue. Because now what happens? They have the hand dryers, they have the air dryers, so they have no more paper products outside of toilet paper, right? Are you going to go back into the stall and grab toilet paper after you've washed your hands? No. Because there could be a trace of what on it? Fecal matter, yes, but yes, poop. Very good. So, bacteria, of course, need certain things to grow. Generally, it's called fat time, food, acid time, temperature, oxygen, and moisture. All right. Now, types of bacteria and their effects on us. Harmful or disease-causing bacteria are known as pathogenic. All right. Undesirable bacteria which cause the decomposition of food is referred to as spoilage bacteria. Okay? And trust me, you will know because it just stinks. The smell is unbelievable. Okay? Spoilage bacteria essentially can live in cold and warm environments. All right? One rule of thumb is as soon as food is harvested, it's already beginning to start to spoil. Best example is going to be corn. When you get fresh corn on the cob, literally at the farm, and get into a pot within half an hour, it is nice, it is sweet, it is wonderful. What happens when we go to the grocery store because they're selling 5 years of fresh corn for $1? We're standing there, we're shucking and shucking and shucking and shucking and shucking, pulling all the the husk and the silk off. We get home, and what happens? We get in the pot, we get the butter ready, we get the salt, then we're kind of like, oh, it's like, yeah, it's all right. It's not as sweet as I thought it would be, right? However, you go out to, let's say, a barbecue restaurant, or a soul food restaurant and they have corn on the cob and you bite into it and it's really, really sweet, two reasons for that. One, wherever it was harvested, they shucked it, they blanched it to cook it off a little bit, and they shocked it and then they froze it right away to keep it in that sweetened state. Or they harvested it, they blanched it, they shocked it, but exactly, they basically boiled it or cooked it in a sugar solution. Okay? If you're a diabetic, that's not good. Either way. All right? Beneficial bacteria used in the production of various foods, including cultured milk, yogurt, cheese, and sauerkraut. Everybody here has beneficial bacteria entering their body at least 2 times a day. Yogurt, okay, salad dressings, cheese. How many people here like biscuits? Buttermilk. Beautiful thing, even though sometimes the biscuit is like 500 calories and you really shouldn't, but hey. Benign bacteria, neither helpful nor harmful. Of the hundreds of thousands of strains of bacteria, most fall into this category, okay? Remember, bacteria is essential. It absolutely is. You cannot eliminate it. If you eliminate it, one species is gonna, it's gonna affect things adversely, okay? It's a necessary good, but it's also a necessary evil. No ifs, no ands, no buts, all right? So, like we said, there are conditions. Food, also known as Fat Tom, all right? You will see this acronym on your chest and in your study guide as well. So, food, basically, we need food to grow, bacteria needs food to grow, all right? Mostly, it can come from protein products, meat, poultry, fish. You can also have plant products which will feed bacteria as well, okay? They also need acidity. Now, here's where things get a little interesting. Bacteria does not do too well in foods that are too acidic or too alkaline, all right? They want a pH with that's as close to 0 as possible, okay? Which is kind of like base, solution. This is why we were talking about, I mentioned, bottled water earlier and what have you. You want to go for, vapor distilled or reprocessed water because usually most spring waters are very, very acidic, okay? Now, of course, what is the big trend? The big trend now is drinking essential water because it's alkaline. It's going to have all of these wonderful health benefits. Yes, it will help. It's not necessarily going to help in the prevention or reduction of bacteria, okay? But alkalinic water is not going to weaken your immune system as much as acidic water, okay? But essentially, it's just water, all right? Filter it, you're good. However, this is why salad dressings, marinades, and things of that particular nature use vinegar, okay? Vinegar is used as a preservative as well as to up the acidic value of the product. It helps to slow down the production of bacteria. Question, anyone, how many of you here, by show of hands, had a parent most likely that said, oh, you should always clean your poultry with vinegar? Okay. Anybody ever had fried chicken that tasted like a salad? Not being funny, right? Because generally what would happen? Oh, soak. Don't. If you're going to marinate the chicken for flavor, yes, fine and good. Make a good marinade, use vinegar. If not, clean it like you would, cold running water, okay? Pat it down so it's dry and what have you. Get it back into cold storage before you, cook it. All right? Save the money. Vinegar is actually not cheap, oddly enough. Yes?
Is it recommended washing the vegetable or fruits with the spoon, the vinegar?
Fruits and vegetables, not necessarily. I would actually just really, take a vegetable brush, okay, cold running water, and really, put on gloves, and really, give a good scrub. Do due diligence. But you do have, as far as for the home environment, you do have food grade vegetable washes, okay, that will help to loosen, the dirt and everything else, off of your fruits and vegetables. But make sure you follow the directions explicitly. Okay, so if, because some of them come in bottles with droppers, and it'll be like a soak, and then you take the brush and scrub off after it soaks for about 5-10 minutes. Others will be a spray, and you just spray it on and scrub and go to town and rinse, and you're good. All right, but do be careful to really monitor and read those instructions and follow them to the T. Yes. Lemon juice is acidic. It's not as acidic as vinegar. Okay. Which is actually really, really interesting because there's been a debate about this. In essence, for years, on the bartending side of things, you were always told that, you have to use tongs when handling fruit to add garnishes. But they were like, but if you touch a lemon or a lime, it's okay, because it's acidic. Use it for everything. Okay? Temperature. All right? Once again, what are we saying here? Our temperature danger zone. 41 degrees to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. This is when they are having their party. They are in the club. They are feeling good. They are doing what? They're eating. They're drinking. Not to paraphrase certain religious texts, but they are being fruitful and they are multiplying. Okay? They are having a good old time. They don't care. They're like, ooh, the world is one big place for us to mess up and party till you puke. Okay? The only problem is, are the bacteria going to be the ones that are puking? No. Who's going to be puking? Us. Okay? Because either we missed something or somebody else was not being safe. All right? So, under that, 3 kinds of bacteria that deal with temperature. So, mesophilic bacteria grow best between 50 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. All right? Most bacteria are in this group. Thermophilic actually grow and like it a little bit warmer. They like 110 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. All right? And then your psychrophilic bacteria, don't ask how long it took to memorize these pronunciations, prefer cold and grow at temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. One way to control the growth of this bacteria is to ensure that they're not within the temperature danger zone, which means keeping your cold food stored at the proper temperature, keeping your hot food stored at the proper temperature, taking a thermometer, checking and checking and checking and rechecking at regular intervals. For most food service facilities, every 15 minutes to half an hour, they have to take a temperature of everything that's in the hot and cold holding in that kitchen to make sure if it's that temperature, okay? If it's not, if it's more than 5 degrees off, if it's 5 degrees off or more, you toss it. If it's within 5 degrees, okay, get it in a pot in a prep station, get it, heat it up rapidly back to 165, and make sure that we're holding it at 140 to 145 or higher, okay? Same thing with cold foods. If it's within a 5-degree range, get it into a blast chiller, get it cooled down again, get it re-iced, what have you. Get it back into the cooling drawers, okay? Because one thing is, in a nursing or a child care environment, you're not necessarily going to open your refrigeration units that much outside of your actual production time. During service, you're not necessarily going to open them repeatedly. However, in a restaurant, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Because if you're cooking food fresh, what happens? We grab a new fillet of salmon, we grab a new fillet of fish, we grab a fresh steak out of a refrigerated unit, and we close the door. How do we control that? Small batches on the station. Even though we're opening and closing, we don't have 30 steaks sitting there. We have maybe 8. 5, fillets of, salmon. X amount of waters of shrimp. So this way, okay, we need more. More is being pulled from cold storage. It's coming out to us on ice. It's going into the refrigeration unit on ice. Same thing in your daycare kitchens, okay? It's coming out of storage on ice, prepped on ice, being returned to storage on ice until it is going to be cooked. All right? Time, they need time to grow and multiply, but as we said, 20 to 30 minutes, they double. Okay? Once again, minimize the times that bacteria has to produce in the TDZ. Oxygen. Some need it, some don't. Okay? Aerobic bacteria need air, anaerobic bacteria do not need air. Okay? They will thrive. And moisture. Okay? They need moisture or water to survive. However, don't think that just because a surface is dry, that bacteria are not present. Bacteria are present. Okay? The old adage of if you go outside in the rain and you'll catch your death of cold, that's not because you got wet, so to speak. Okay? You could have been dry as a bone, but you have bacteria on you, and now you go out in the rain. What's been introduced to your body? Moisture. Exactly. All right? It's not the temperature change from coming in out of the rain into an air-conditioned environment. It's the fact that you've touched different things. You have different, pieces of jewelry and clothing on you that have gotten wet, and what happens? The bacteria start to multiply. All right? You ever notice, even though you may have just, you just showered and put on perfume or cologne or this or that, your clothes are, freshly pressed, you go outside, all of a sudden, oh no, it's raining, you run back in, and within about 5 minutes, you're like, oh, I got to change my shirt because it got wet. But then you notice that there's a musty smell. Okay? That's bacterial growth. Yes?
The moisture meaning is the light and the warm or humid?
Yeah. Humidity also comes into play with moisture. Okay? Now, with moisture, hold on real quick. With moisture, there's a little thing on the bottom that says water activity, okay? Water activity is basically the rate of moisture or the amount of saturation, so to speak, all right? Water activity of 0.85 or less does not have a moisture to support the active growth of bacteria, okay? Essentially, the best way to explain it, those wet naps that you get when you go to a fast food place, or better yet, a certain chain of seafood restaurants on a certain island on the other side of the Bronx, right? Or certain, places that offer barbecued meats and things of that nature, okay? But, or a certain seafood restaurant that specializes in lobster. No, because, you have to be very, very careful on the net. You don't want to, you're not knocking anybody, all right? But, the wet naps that they give you, okay? That is actually higher than the 0.85. At the moment where it's almost completely dry on the table because it sat there for a few minutes, that's actually a 0.85 right there, roughly. Okay? So you see, it's not a lot of moisture. Essentially what happens, you see one of them, they feel a little dry, but you pick it up and it has a little bit of a cold sensation to it. That's because there's still that little bit of residual moisture on the actual pad or tissue. Yes?
My question is, when you buy fruits,
Loud. Uh-huh.
you buy, let's pick strawberry,
Uh-huh.
you need to wash it before you put it in the fridge.
Yes. Oh, yes. No, any fruits and vegetables, you should wash before storing them, okay? Now, in the environment of your daycare facility, of course, they're going to come in bulk, okay? So you're not necessarily going to wash it before you store it, but you're definitely going to, you're going to put on gloves. You're going to make sure that your staff, handles, the batching of it and cleaning of it before it's put out and to serve to the children the right way. Yeah. But not that I'm a germaphobe, but in general, when I buy fresh fruit, I like to make my own homemade ice cream a lot. So generally, it's going to come in, it's going to stay there maybe 15 minutes before it's going in something. So I automatically just go, rinse it, dry it, put it in glassware, because then within half an hour or so, it's going to go into ice cream or something else. Yes?
To kill the bacteria from the hands,
Mm-hmm.
we always have to use soap, or if we use only water and
No. Soap. Very good question. One, you're going to eliminate bacteria, but you're never going to really kill bacteria, okay? Because as soon as you finish washing your hands, what's floating around us? Air. What's traveling in the air? Bacteria. So you will minimize bacteria through proper hand washing. Now, hand sanitizer can be used, but hand sanitizer is to be used after you've done what? Bingo. After you've washed your hands. That's like the last gap measure. Okay? Wash them for a minimum of 20 seconds, rinse them, dry them thoroughly, and then a little bit of hand sanitizer to eliminate any residual that may still have hung around after hand washing. All right? Every fall, actually, I'm hoping that we'll be able to do this with a group from here, but they have the New York Hotel Motel Restaurant Conference. All right? Ecolab, they're one of the Ecolab and Diversity. They're one of the biggest suppliers of products for use in restaurants and things of that nature. You know, chemicals and cleaning chemicals and hand washing supplies and things of that nature. They always have a hand washing station. It's really cool because you go in and literally you're washing your hands. But they have special screens and lights, and so they show you see your hands dirty before it goes in under a black light, and it's just kind of like ew. You wash your hands with the soap. And they tell you the 20 seconds, and they have like the little red light, red light, green light, yellow light. And then you go to the rinse, and you rinse. And they have the air dryer, right? And then you look, and they have another like view screen. And you rub this little orange solution on your hands. And apparently it's supposed to highlight the residual bacteria that's still there after hand washing. And it's really, really scary. How much remains, even though we've properly washed our hands, because you won't really see anything on the upper surface. You'll now see that the bulk of it is actually in the lens and grooves of our fingers, prints, and handprints. Okay? Yes?
Another question. Is recommended you dry this after the washing before you put it in the refrigerator?
Say it again? Sorry.
It's recommended you dry the strawberry after wash before you put it in the refrigerator?
Yeah. Okay, because keep in mind, refrigeration units are going to be human, not so much freezers, but definitely refrigerators are going to be a human environment. Okay, that can't be helped. All right, moisture is going to need, it's going to have to be there, for certain, food products to stay fresh. Your lettuce has to stay crispy, your celery has to stay crunchy, and things of that particular nature. You don't want, like your poultry and your seafood to dry out. So there's going to be some natural relative humidity that's present in your refrigeration unit. Okay, but this is why I said, if you can get sealed containers, there's no harm in giving the fruit a quick, wash, patting it dry. And I put it in a sealed container.
That in the container, right?
No. No. Yeah, never do that. That drives me nuts. That's really a commercial packaging thing, just so that in transportation, if one or two like berries knock together and they start to leach, all right, so that it doesn't spread to the rest of the container. Yeah, you see those little those little paper and like cotton pads in the bottom of like strawberries and blueberries and raspberries, that is purely for protection while it's in transport. When you get them home, rinse your fruit off, pat it dry with a paper towel, very, very gently, put it inside a plastic container. Okay? Do not put paper towel in the containers. You are creating a nightclub for trillions of bacteria to have a party and to make you sick. Are you okay? You look a little green in the gills. All right. Listen, this is the tame stuff. Next week we're going to be talking about roaches and rats and everything. Transmission: bacteria cannot crawl, fly, or move. All right. They are thread-like appendages. All right. How do they get around? Bingo. Hand-to-hand contact. Okay. Now, you know what's going to crack me up? I guarantee you at least 4 of you are going to say, you know what? I did not want to shake anybody's hands or give them a hug or give them a kiss for at least 2 days after class. It happens. No, it really does, make you think. For instance, how many of us here know someone that goes to the bathroom? I'm not going to say what gender, but they go to the bathroom and they think that it's okay to just, okay, I'm good. And they walk out. Don't even touch the sink. Okay? There are several patrons that come into my restaurant every day that give me nasty looks because if I encounter them when I'm in the bathroom, I'm like, yeah, bruh man, nah. Okay? We have servers on the floor. I don't know where you're sitting, because if I really find out where you're sitting, I'm really going to come and embarrass you, especially if you're on a date. Yeah. I will walk up and be like, oh, sir, I think you forgot to wash your hands, you know. No, I've done it. Okay? It is gross because, especially if you are out in public, what happens? Somebody doesn't wash their hands, right? They are touching their food, they're touching their drink, they're most likely 9 times out of 10 going to somehow brush up against the person that served them, right? Or they're going to pay their bill, they're going to handle their check, they're going to hand them a credit card, they're going to hand them cash, which who knows how many other people have handled. Yeah, no. Wash your hands. Destroying them, heat and chemicals. All right? Heat is pretty much, self-explanatory. If you go over the high limit, okay, generally of 160 degrees, and you hold for a significant number of seconds of time, for milk it's usually 15 seconds. 161 degrees Fahrenheit for minimum 15 seconds kills out all bacteria in milk. That process is also known as pasteurization. Okay, but if you are using heat treatment to sanitize equipment, dishes, things of that particular nature, generally once you go over, actually that high limit, low limit would be 180 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, but that one pretty much instantly, boom. It's usually minimum like instantly to 5 seconds. Okay. Now chemicals, you can use chemicals. It's just that you need to be very, very sure that they are diluted in the proper parts per million, or known as ppm, okay? Too strong a dilution can make somebody sick. Too weak a dilution, of course, will be beneficial to nobody, okay? Because it won't serve its given purpose, all right? That's why, like in the industry, they have what's called quat sanitizers and iodine sanitizers. They also have what's known as litmus paper, because you basically use this special paper, you make a solution, you dip it in there. If it changes a certain color and you match it against the guide, it lets you know that the solution is very, very strong. But it also lets you know that your dispensing unit is operating at optimal efficiency. Okay? The darker the litmus paper, the stronger the solution. The lighter the litmus paper, the less effective, the weaker the solution, the less effective it's going to be. All right? Other methods, of course, air, sunlight, refrigeration. All right? Refrigerating or freezing. Some bacteria will, basically because of lack of moisture retention in air, open air, will die off. Okay? Will be retarded, will die off. Sunlight, exposure to ultraviolet rays from the sun. This goes back to, basic organic chemistry in high school and college. Some things will get killed off. Please do not go, and if you have a cut and you're hanging out, grab a magnifying glass and try to zap it. That does not work. I've seen it happen. Don't ask. All right. Refrigeration does not destroy bacteria already present, but it slows down the growth process because now they're in a cold, controlled environment. Any questions? I really hate this thing. Oh, sorry. Hate is a strong word. I despise this, rail of. No. Listen, I have large feet. I'm going to trip on it anyway. All right. Microorganisms, viruses, similar to bacteria. One of the main things is viruses need direct contact. Okay? Viruses are not going to exist on surfaces. They're basically passed person to person. For instance, how many people here are fans of football? Can't remember the specific player's name now, but I think he plays for the Jets. No, one of these football players on the Jets, he's out for the next week or two because he has mononucleosis. Yeah. All right. Mononucleosis is not the kissing disease. It is a viral infection. Basically, it's like the common cold, but a lot worse. All right. However, one method of transmission, of course, is through a sign of infection, which would be kissing someone, okay? But he could have easily touch someone who was sweaty, okay, it's basically, transmitted, through its pores, what have you, all right? Not really interested in how it happened, but hey, it happened, all right? Unlike bacteria, viruses cannot reproduce in the food, all right? Food only serves as a reservoir and a transporting mechanism until it is ingested, okay? So there could be some type of, virilic infection in the food. It is not necessarily going to make you sick right away because, unlike bacteria, viruses need your body to reproduce. Okay? So it's going to take them a little longer. Now, as we mentioned earlier, all right, hepatitis A, noroviruses, which were previously known as the Norwalk virus, all right, noroviruses recently implicated in various foodborne illness outbreaks involving cruise ships. Okay? Cruise ships and airlines, number one contributors for norovirus. Closed, controlled quarters. Okay? And not everyone is always being as clean as they should be. It is a given fact. Horrible as it is, but it's a given fact. My niece took her first cruise, and I was freaking out because I said, oh my God, she's going to get sick. Thankfully, she didn't. But it was just, the whole mindset of, I've been on them before, I've come back with what I thought was a horrific cold, the next thing you know, yeah, I'm down for 2 weeks. Okay? Hepatitis A, actually very, very critical. Hepatitis A can actually be fatal because it affects your liver. Okay? If you start feeling off in that type of situation, definitely, yeah, this is kind of gross, definitely, seek out a doctor, especially after you've been traveling and you seem that you have a cold that just, not that it won't go away, but it's just very, very intense. Just to be on the safe side, go get checked out. Okay? Because quite honestly, not only are you protecting yourself, but you're potentially protecting other people that you have come in contact with. All right? So, parasites, ta-da! That is a parasitic worm. All right? That is actually an anisakid worm. All right? Now, anisakid worms generally found in fish. Anisakid worms are almost similar to the Trichinella spiralis worms that are found in pork. Okay? Yeah, who said sushi? I heard somebody say it. Yeah, it's possible. All right? But this is why if you look, you buy sushi grade fish, not just plain raw fish. Okay? Because they have gone through this whole inspection process to make sure one of those don't pop up and say hello. All right? However, with the growing interest in sushi, sashimi, ceviche, increased risk of illness such as anisakis, because this is not going to be killed with the acid, in the marinade. It's not. It's going to be killed through heat or cold. Okay? So you know what? Hey, I have no problem if somebody says, you know what? Well, we're going to do a mock ceviche because we're going to sear the fish really hard on the outside. And then we'll let it chill, and then, you'll have a nice medium rare tuna. Fine, no problem. Okay? Don't knock me. I still do regular sushi as well. Okay? So, yeast. You will know yeast is present because you can smell it, because yeast smells exactly like what popular food that all of us have at least twice a day? Bread. Yeast smells like bread. Right? That is actually what gives bread that characteristic smell. It's the yeast. When you're like, ooh, yes. A Kaiser, a toasted croissant, a Kaiser roll, lightly buttered, things like that. So, one-celled organisms, basically larger than bacteria. Main thing with yeast to remember, it's produced by budding, which is similar to binary fission, okay? Pretty much the same method of eliminating bacteria will kill yeast as well, okay? One of the only differences is yeast also produce carbon dioxide, okay? Yeast can contribute to spoilage. They can contribute to the decomposition of starch and sugar, and is therefore undesirable. For instance, Okay? Has anyone known, there have been actually documented cases where individuals have had yeast infections and people have thought that they were basically alcoholics? Does anybody know why? Okay? High starch, if somebody's carbo loading, a friend of mine's a bodybuilder, he was carbo loading, he had a yeast infection, did not know. Okay? Brett was walking around looking like he was falling down drunk because the yeast basically fed on the carbohydrates in his system and produced what? Alcohol. He was his own self-contained brewery. Creepy. Okay? And it was a very, very like minimal amount, but that minimum amount going directly into his bloodstream, he's, okay? For about a week, people just, okay, is he tossing them back while he's working out? What's going on? Went to a doctor, like, yeah. Ooh, not pretty. You kind of would have thought the smell would have been a dead giveaway, but hey. All right? Oops. Mold. We talked about that a little bit. Molds, of course, comes from spores. They're multicellular. Generally, they look like little trees, all right? Their genus name, basically, is called the mycelium. If anybody here watches, Star Trek Beyond, all right? They talk about the mycelial network and the spore drive on the show and stuff like that. Those are basically molds, all right? Molds do require moisture and air for growth. They can grow on almost any organic matter. Molds will not grow in anything inorganic, but they will grow on organic matter, okay? They can grow in any organic matter. Anybody here have an old leather jacket? Or know somebody with an old leather jacket? Okay, mold can actually grow on leather. Yeah. I learned that the hard way. It was an old jacket from college, but still But, some are toxic, some are not toxic. In general, you want to be very, very, very wary with molds in the environment, okay? They cause a slew of respiratory ailments. They can be potentially fatal depending on the severity of the individual's ailment, okay, when exposed to it. Generally, your business will actually be checked out, especially if you're going, for daycare centers and things of that nature. That building will be inspected from tooth to gills to make sure that there's no evidence of mold, that there's no potential for mold growth, okay? Because inherently, not only is the fire department involved, the Department of Health is involved, and the Department of Buildings is involved, and the EPA is also involved, okay? So, once again, with yeast, with bacteria, the methods of destruction are similar, okay? Now, you do have a product called Mycobon. It's calcium propionate, all right? That's also used in making bread. Oddly enough, all right, it is also used to prevent the spread of mold. It's a mold inhibitor, all right? Good thing, bad thing. The only problem is it's one of those situations where, we talked about before, certain products you use and you have to make sure that you use them exactly as the instructions say so. That's kind of what you have to do with Mycobon, okay? You have to use it exactly as it says so, or you could have complications, all right? So, as we stated, discovery of medication. Alexander Fleming, pretty much, right? Discovered penicillin. Had a moldy piece of bread while he was working in his laboratory. Looked at it, was like, oh, this looks interesting. Foodborne illness, 3 categories. First is infection, second is intoxication, third is toxin-mediated infection. Okay? Now, first one, illness caused by eating food that has large numbers of microorganisms. They either enter your digestive tract and disrupt the functions, resulting in diarrhea and other problems. Severity of the problem depends on the dosage ingested and the particular bacteria. Okay? For instance, can you serve a child in New York City a rare hamburger if they go out to a restaurant? Yes or no? No. The standard is currently medium well, which is around 155 to 158 degrees. That can be served to a child. Okay? If the parent insists, the parent is assuming the risk. Okay? Are you going to serve anything below medium well in your facility? Okay? If you find little Johnny is kind of like, well, I'm used to it at home. Sorry, kid, you're not at home. I will happily talk to your parents and let them know what our policy is. Generally, 9 times out of 10, the parents already know what the policy is. But every now and then, you encounter a client that can be rather unique, have a very, very strong sense of mind, which is a good thing. All right? First symptoms of an infection will occur from as early as 6 hours to as long as 48 hours after the contaminated food is eaten. Generally, if you have eaten something and you start having adverse reactions in less than 2 hours, you may just have a sensitivity to an ingredient. Okay? Foodborne infection is not going to onset that quickly. Minimum 6-hour window, because what does it have to do in our body? Bingo. It has to digest. Has to go through your whole system. Okay? Guess what? If you're lactose intolerant, of course, eating something like clam chowder is going to work its way right on through because you're lactose intolerant. Your body's like, you gave me cream. No, evacuate, right? However, we have what in our intestines? How long is our small intestine? Huh? How long?
6 hours? After 6 hours?
How long is, like, if you were to take them and stretch it out? All right? 26 miles. Your small intestine is basically roughly the length of a standard marathon. Standard small intestine. 26 miles. Miles. You stretch it out. 26 miles. Okay? Basically, one in, the other end, and let Meb Keflezighi go in between, run in between. Okay? So, all right, foodborne intoxication. Illness that's caused by eating food that has toxins that are generated by certain microorganisms. Okay? The microorganism is on the food. It has time to multiply and produce waste products. The waste products are toxins and result in an intoxication when that food is eaten. This is what most people commonly refer to as food poisoning. Okay? Can this potentially kill you? Yes. I've experienced it before. It is not cool. I am still here. I am not a ghost. I cannot pass through anything. Okay? There is a certain chain restaurant I will never eat out of again a day in my life. But, as it states, toxins are not destroyed by heat. Okay? 9 times out of 10, the reason why you have toxins in the food, vegetables were not properly washed. Someone went to the bathroom and didn't properly wash their hands, or better yet, you have a cook, to give an example, you have a cook, not very, very experienced in sanitation, okay? They're gonna go on break. What do? They blow their nose, they take their hat off, they take their hairnet off, they rub their hair. Oh crap, I forgot to stir the sauce. It happens. Okay? I teach culinary classes. One of the first things we do the first 3 days, sanitation, sanitation, sanitation. You're not touching a knife until I know you're gonna work clean. Okay? I've had some great students, love seeing them now, but I had a few that were literally walking health code violations. Just because, they, like I said, in our business, in your business as a supervisor, manager, what have you, team leader, you're going to have to look at every last thing that's going on. You have to be observant. because you are the last line of defense. Okay? Mommy and daddy, are they going to be concerned, oh, Timmy touched something and da-da-da-da-da-da, and he got sick? No, they're not going to see Timmy running, around and touching everything. They know he's going to touch everything. The mindset is going to be, my child got sick in your care. How did this happen? Okay? I'm not looking at his actions. I'm looking at the fact that you may have been, what? Negligent. All right? Whoops. It is important. Okay? Once again, intoxication, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Okay? I will tell you now, there are some instances where it can be so severe, not to gross anybody out that's watching, but it's just a fact. It will come out of both ends and it can potentially happen at the same time. I have seen it happen. Okay? You feel it coming up, you run, you get ready to give your tribute to the porcelain god, and then all of a sudden, I feel gassy. Oh no, it happens. It's a fact of life. Okay? Generally, depending on the level of intoxication, you could be fine in 3 or 4 days. It could take you up to a week and a half. Okay? Some people have been hospitalized, but this is so serious. It's because, E. coli is along the line of this. There have been some people within 12 hours, they have died because their organs have basically either liquefied or there was so much gaseous buildup, internal explosion. All right? Foodborne toxin-mediated infection occurs when you ingest food that has microorganisms on it. However, they have found favorable conditions to grow in the intestines. Okay, this is not happening in the gut or the stomach, so to speak, or the esophageal tract. This has actually made it past that. Now we're in the intestines. Okay, they produce their toxins, which then will cause foodborne illness. I can't remember the name of the condition right off my mind right now, but a colleague of mine had, I think, about 16 feet of intestine excised because that happened to him. That it was so far in, they couldn't really, they couldn't treat it. So, common foodborne illnesses. Now, in your packets, we have a description of some of the symptoms of these foodborne illnesses. Professor Dean, join us. So, let's see. Salmonella, now we know about that. Staph disease. All right. It's going to be the third sheet in, roughly. It says page 18. Some of you have the front to back copies. So at the top, it's going to say common foodborne illnesses. Salmonella is like the first entry. Second one is... No. 3 sheets in. Like I said, some people have one-sided copies, some people have two-sided copies. So basically on the third sheet in, page 18 will be at the bottom, because it's directly from the manual. Page 18 will be at the bottom. That's how you know you have the right page number, okay? However, I know I should be wearing my progressives. I'm not. I'm vain. So, staphylococcal gastroenteritis. All right? Bacterial name, Staphylococcus aureus, staph disease essentially. Source, healthy human beings. Where does it come from? Nose, throat, hair, infected cuts, bruises, abscesses, and acne. Foods involved: baked goods, custards, pastry, cooked foods traditionally left out at room temperature, ham, sliced meats, and other foods with low water activity. Onset time, 6 to 48 hours. It's an infection. Symptoms: abdominal pain, diarrhea, chills, fever, nausea, vomiting, and malaise. All right? Shigellosis. This is why we say wash your fruits and vegetables thoroughly. All right? Shigella species, the source, humans, raw produce, moist prepared foods such as tuna, macaroni, potato salads, etc. Onset 1 to 7 days. It's a bacterial infection, abdominal pain, diarrhea, bloody stools, and fever. This is not to gross anybody out. This is just a reality. This is what happens when we are not safe in how we handle our food. From when it comes in the door to where we store it, to where we pull it out, to prepare it, fabricate it, cook it, and serve it. And then to reserve, cool down and store leftovers. Oh. Hepatitis A. All right, now we're on page 20. Hepatitis A virus source, human feces, fecal contaminated waters, fecal contaminated produce. Okay? How many people remember last summer, but 2 summers ago, all of these cooling towers of these buildings that had bird feces? Okay? People were getting listeria and a few other things. Hepatitis A was one of those situations because it was feces. Okay? It went into the water tanks, it got into the evaporators, and of course, what do the evaporators do? They heat up the water for cooling down the system, they make a mist, and boom. Okay? You get enough fecal matter in there, is it gonna stay chunky? No. Ooh, okay, not to sound gross. It's gonna do what? It's gonna dissolve, it's gonna get incorporated into the liquid. All right? Rotavirus, gastroenteritis. Virus, rotavirus source, human feces, fecal contaminated waters, fecal contaminated foods. Food involved, ready-to-eat foods such as salads, sandwiches, baked product, contaminated water. Onset time, 1 to 3 days. Vomiting, watery diarrhea, abdominal pains, and mild fever. Yeah, I think that's about enough for now. So, these are your common illnesses. These will be in your notes as well as your training manual. Okay, we'll have more detail as far as, symptoms and how to treat them and things of that particular nature. But just to give you an example of how, some symptoms are common. Onset can be, as we stated, 6 hours to 48 hours. Rotavirus, 1 to 7 days. All right? So, personal hygiene. So, you have people that you are going to encounter in a professional environment, whether it's because of cultural reasons, religious reasons, whatever it is, they will not necessarily share your same view of personal hygiene. However, you as the head must toe the line when it comes to company policy. Okay? It is a level playing field, which means that you need to say, hey, you need to shower, you need to put on clean clothing, your uniform is, you do not travel in your uniform to and from work, okay? I worked for Marriott. I interned with Marriott when I was in college. They impressed the daylights out of me just with their laundry system. My first day on site, I came in my chef whites, and the head of HR almost had a calf. Because, I didn't know. When I was in school, okay, you went from point A to point B, basically you were enclosed. So, you left your dorm, you got on a bus, you went half a mile down the road, and you went into, an academic hall and you sat down. We were in uniform. However, I did not know that when I went to work for Marriott, you had to, basically what I had to do was I had to go. That day they actually sent me home. They said, come back tomorrow, but wash your uniforms, bring them in a bag, give them to laundry services. We're going to tag them. We're going to label them. You're going to get an ID number. I said, okay, why? They said, because laundry services will clean and press your uniforms every day. When you come to work, you come in your street clothes, you pick up your uniform, you go to the locker room, you bathe quickly, you put your uniform on, and you go upstairs. they are minimizing the exposure for all departments, which I actually thought was kind of cool because I'm like, all right, cool. You don't have to buy suits and, when you work at reservations and stuff. I had clean uniforms. I did kind of bring a few extras and cycle them in so I wouldn't have to worry about, cleaning them when I got back to campus, but, But that's their means of making sure that they control the environment that they're in by making sure they're limiting as many outside factors coming into that site. I was actually just kind of shocked that they actually mandated that we shower, but I was like, all right. Not after work, but before. I was kind of like, all right. It happens, though. Company standard, all right? Proper work attire, uniforms, like I said, should not be worn to work. Hair restraints, if you're working around food, tie your hair up. And even when you tie your hair up, put on what? A hair net. If you have men that have beards, because beards are the big thing now, get a beard guard. We do not care that you look like Santa Claus on something, because we've all seen what a beard guard looks like, right? Big old puffy white net, and they look kind of cuckoo. Guess what? You look silly, all right? If you don't want to look silly, then what should you do? Bingo, shave the beard. If you don't want to look silly wearing a beard guard, if any guys out there watching this, streaming now, are bearded, sorry, it's just a fact, okay? If you don't want to look silly wearing a beard guard, shave the beard. But as long as you're in a kitchen prepping food for children or seniors or anyone else, you're going to have to wear it. Okay? Gentlemen, if you have a shaved head or you are naturally bald, guess what? Besides wearing a hat, you will still have to wear a hairnet. The health code does not provide an exception for if you have a regal bean and have no hair. Ladies, it's already a given. Kitchen environment, food prep environment, hairnet, hat. Okay? And we mean fine mesh hairnet, none of this decorative stuff like they would wear in the 1950s and 60s trying to be cute. No. Fine mesh hairnet. All right? Any questions on that? Good. Because we don't want what getting into the food. We don't want dandruff. We don't want hair. We don't want other things getting into the pot. Right? Yes. Okay, now, thank you very much for that, actually. Valid question. People serving food do not have to wear hairnets per se, depending on the environment. Hospitals, yes. There's been great debate about this. Yeah. I would actually like to see this happen in a restaurant environment, although I understand that it's not necessarily aesthetically pleasing. Generally, male and female service at a restaurant, whether it's full service, quick service, family, whatever, they have to at least have their hair tied back, and it has to be neat. So even though, you have it in a ponytail, you can't have a whole bunch of frilly stuff going on up in the front. It can't be sticking up all over the place like the chickens have danced in it. And no, but you'll be surprised. Okay? I've actually advised a few servers that have curly, hair. I'm like, you know what? Get some product, get some pomade, some gel while you're here. You can always rinse it out and let, the air dry it afterwards. But someone is going to see that, and they're going to complain. And 9 times out of 10, a guest would complain. Okay? In daycare centers and stuff like that, especially if you're going to be producing food for children, you're going to have a parent or two that's going to, they're going to come, they're going to tour, they're going to really look and observe people. If they see something going on with the quaff, they're going to say something to you about it. All right? So, jewelry, as we said, get rid of the jewelry. Put it somewhere, okay, while you're working. Clean hands, clean hands, clean hands, clean hands, clean hands. Okay, do you need a mint? And I'm not trying to be funny. Do you need a mint, water, or, all right? So, 50 to 75% of healthy humans carry staph disease, Staphylococcus bacteria. All right? Almost 2/3 of us in here have Staphylococcus aureus already on our bodies. Anybody want to say hello? No? You don't want to shake my hand? I have hand sanitizer. Not being funny, right? Like I said, it's going to make you think. Now, 60 to 70% of healthy people carry Clostridium perfringens, which can be transmitted onto foods with hands. So you know what? We don't even need to eat now. Right? We'll leave here, take the train, take a bus, take an Uber, and that just scares the daylights out of me. Uber, convenient, love ride shares, right? Moderately priced, gets you from point A to point B quick. Do we know what has gone on in that vehicle? During the day. Somebody going to the market, going to the gym. You know what I'm saying? Let's say, you know what, they decided, okay, I'm going to ride my bike 15 miles. They ride their bike, oh, I'm tired. Okay, let me Uber back home. Okay? Ye old sweaty body in the back seat. No. I know they're laughing on the other end of that one. But, you know, tons of things that we don't necessarily consciously think about. Okay? I like Uber. Would I rather get on the New York City subway system and take my chances? In most cases, yes. I'm just going to be real. Because you don't know what you really don't know what, you at least know, okay, I'm going to encounter so many members of the Great Unwashed on the subway and the bus, versus, you could have had, Tony McSteroid from the gym do a 3-hour workout and get in the back of an Uber. It's just kind of like, okay, wait, why is this a little damp when you get in after them? Nah, it's not cool. In addition to normal flora, all right, you also have transient microorganisms found in your hands that you pick up, of course, through incidental contact. I'm on the train, I'm on the bus, I'm grabbing the handrail, I'm swiping my MetroCard through the turnstile. Better yet, how many people here actually use the machines to refill their MetroCard? Okay? No, it's not to gross you out, it's to make you aware. Okay? Not for nothing, from that point on, minimize contact with other people, minimize contact with our eyes, our nose, and our mouths until we get to our destination and can wash our hands. Okay? Because everyone uses that machine. If Martin is holding little Tommy while he's doing such and such, and little Tommy's 3 years old, and pick me up, Dad, pick me up. And little Tommy has a cold all over the screen. Okay? Little Tommy has just given us the gift that keeps on giving, hasn't he? Right? In addition to everything from everyone else that has touched that unit. All right? Wash your hands, please. Often and thoroughly. Hand washing, ta-da! All right? Very, very simple. Okay? Now, this is one thing you need to pay attention to explicitly. Right down here on the bottom. Hand washing sinks must be located within 25 feet of each food preparation, food service, and washing area, or in adjacent to employee and patron bathrooms. Doors, equipment, and other materials cannot block hand washing sinks. Okay? You can get portable hand washing sinks. They have little heated tanks and things like that, and the drainage is self-contained. Fine and good. However, if you're going to have what's called a wet kitchen in your daycare for heating and storing food to serve to children, if the parents are providing it, you need to make sure that at least 25 feet away from that kitchen, you have a hand wash sink besides having one in the kitchen. Okay? Best alternative, of course, whatever facilities they're going to use for the restroom, you have additional hand wash sinks in there. Make sure they are designated hand washing only. Okay? You need the proper signage for that. If you do not have the proper signage, that is once again a point assessment. Generally, once you hit 8 points under the current standard, you're now down a letter grade. Okay? So you've gone from an A to a B. How many people here want to go to a facility where you see a big old green B in the window? Be honest. Nobody. If we see an A, yes, of course. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate. If we see a GP, grade pending, are we going to necessarily go in? Is it safe to go in? Yeah, could be. All right. Easiest way. What age are we in, folks? Everyone has one of these. Everyone has a smartphone. Now, if anybody in this room actually has an old school flip phone because they just don't want to be bothered, I commend you. I applaud you. Same thing with those of you viewing us out there. If there's someone streaming right now that has an old school style flip phone, I commend you. However, we do what? We go on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, all this other stuff. Guess what you can do? At the bottom of that letter grade, there is a QR code, and there is also a website. There is also a web address. Okay? There's listed the name of the business, its designation given by the health department, and a reference number for their most recent inspection. You can scan the QR code with your camera. It will take you to the DOHMH website, and it will just say, enter reference number. You put it in, and you can see exactly what the restaurant was inspected for, if they had point assessments, and why, for whatever reason, you see a grade pending in that window. 9 times out of 10, for most places, it's not because there's a violation. It's actually because they have done everything they can the right way, and the inspector didn't have an A sheet. Okay? We had a grade pending at the restaurant about 1.5 years ago because we were like the 5th inspection of the day. He got there like 7-something at night. We were the 5th inspection of the day. The last 4, boom, they rocked it. They got A's, we rocked it, we got an A. But he can't just leave, go down to the health academy, grab one and come back, okay? Since he's done the inspection and he's logged it and filed it on the system, there has to be something in the window, and you cannot use the old documentation to carry over, past, once you have a current inspection done. So put the grade pending. We got the actual A to hang in the window like 2 weeks later via mail. Okay? But it was one of these things where, yeah, we would see some people come up the ramp. Oh, yeah, okay, we're going to get, oh. All right? Some turned around. Some came in and quiet. Okay, what's going on? Something happened, We explained ourselves. All right? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I see a B that's going to be real. I don't want to walk in there. No matter how clever the owners get by making the one guy went and put brunch. He added other letters to make it say, "Ooh, come in for brunch," and he had to be, no, not cute. Bare hand contact. The New York City Health Code prohibits the handling of ready-to-eat foods with bare hands, okay? So if you notice, you go to grocery stores, you go to Stop and Shop, and what have you. Costco, do you see anything you can use your bare hands on? There's one thing in particular, okay? Now, some of us that have spouses or significant others, when you go to Costco, you usually spend about 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on what you got to get, right? 9 times out of 10, one of the pair is going to see the lovely old little, lady standing there with the sausage samples over here and the meatballs over there and the pepperoni over there. They have the toothpicks, but, right, you go for those free samples, right? Now, it is sanitary because you have a toothpick. All right? What happens when you got a little kid that doesn't fully grasp the concept of pick up one by the toothpick? Especially, "Ooh, is that a meatball? I like meatballs." It happens. Okay? To be honest, sometimes some of us call that lunch, depending on how many things they're offering that day. You can actually get a full meal, you know? But if you see bare hand contact, be wary, okay? If the person cooking, preparing the samples, they're gloved and everything else like that. Should we be gloved? No, but at least, you know what? Even if I'm picking it up on a toothpick, you got a piece of tissue paper, you got a napkin? Because I just want to be sure for my own, peace of mind. All right? Exclusion of sick employees. If your employee comes in with a cold, sorry, go home. Okay? If they haven't even come to work and they said, oh, I'm sick, I think I have the flu, okay, fine and good. Make sure you go see your doctor. Make sure you come back with a certificate of fitness indicating that you can come back to work. Click. This is childcare. This is somebody that's going to be around children and be around food. Do we want them coming back in if we are not certain that they are the picture of, clean health? No. Absolutely, positively not. Cuts, wounds, and sores. Cuts and wounds that are not infected on the hands and arms must be completely covered by a waterproof bandage. Wear single-use gloves or finger cuts over any bandages over the hands and fingers. Also, have another layer of protection, as we mentioned earlier, by wearing a glove. Okay? It can be the easiest little thing. I had a bartender, she had a broken nail, had a Band-Aid on because the nail broke right here by the quick when she was having, work done, manicure. Okay? We had a patron, lost her mind when she saw the Band-Aid. Oh my gosh, she's gonna make me sick. Mind you, the bartender made her cocktail, used an ice scoop, used tongs to put fruit into the glass. Okay? Grabbed the straw, tore the paper off, boom. Didn't touch the straw at all. But this patron still, she has a Band-Aid! Yeah, okay, she could have had a finger cut on, but still, seriously? It happens. You can do everything the right way, but you still have the aesthetic circumstances that you will be held accountable for. Okay? It is that much more difficult in a childcare environment because, okay, what do little children do if they happen to get in trouble or do something that mommy or daddy tells them not to do? Number one, better yet, all right, John and Mary drop Johnny Jr. off at daycare, okay? They pick him up, they hug him, they kiss him goodbye, and they tell him to do what? Be a what? Be a good boy, okay? Mommy and daddy walk off, he laughs and giggles, and then you see those little horns just go dink, right? Because the he turns it down into doesn't it? Okay? And he's climbing and touching and pulling Sally's hair and throwing Play-Doh and everything else like that. Okay? Guess what? The aesthetic, the aesthetics behind it. If you say, hey, don't do that, we're going to put you in timeout, what's going to happen when they show up later on? Oh, Mr. So-and-so was mean to me. Is the parent going to say what happened? No. 9 times out of 10, what did you do to my child? How could you? Even if you explain why you put them in timeout, still, do not do that. Because 9 times out of 10, do they do it? All right? Just as, these clean sanitary practices, all right, this is where you instill them in kids so that they share those things. There is nothing wrong with having activity time and saying, hey, one of the activities today, we're going to learn how to wash our hands. Ooh, isn't making suds with the soap so much fun? Okay, I'm not joking. I'm being dead serious. Okay, because 9 times out of 10, if they're not learning it in your environment, they're most likely not learning it at home. It's only going to be something that they're told in common practice if they happen to go out. Okay, main indicator, all right, of how you can tell this, go to a restaurant, Fast food or whatever else, usually not really fast food, but one where we get full service, right? Go to a restaurant and basically observe a family that has small children. Okay? When something is brought to the child, if there is proper training, generally, how will the child respond automatically? They will say what? No. No, you put a little juice cup in front of the kid. 9 times out of 10, if they're properly trained, they will say what? Thank you. Okay, which basically is cue to you. Okay, obviously, whether they go out a lot, basic rudimentary things are being taught and reinforced. In general, if you have to hear, what do you say? I'm kind of like, what's going on there? All right? Aesthetics work both ways. Do's and don'ts. Do not smoke or use tobacco in any form while in a food preparation area. We are now in the age of vaping. We have told our staff, if we see you pull out a vape pen, a Juul, a Blue, and go real quick off to the side, and you, bye, you're not going home for the shift, you are gone. Okay? Fine and good, it's vape, but you know what? It's still putting product in the air. You're still making contact with your hand to your mouth. Okay? Are you going to instinctually wash your hands after you have a cigarette? Yes. Of course you are. One, because of the smell, right? But is someone necessarily who vapes keen to instinctually wash their hands after they've had 3 or 4 pulls off of a vape? No. Because they're kind of like, oh, well, you know what? I didn't smoke a cigarette. I don't have the tobacco smell on my hands. But what did you do? You touched your vape pen or stick or whatever. You touched your mouth. 9 times out of 10, you got real close, right? Traces of saliva, lip balm, hair. Not funny. Not good. All right? Do not work when you have a fever, cough, cold, upset stomach, or diarrhea. Just don't. Stay home. Okay? Don't take something and then, oh yeah, I had Kaopectate, I had Pepto-Bismol, I had Alka-Seltzer, I feel much better. No, stay home. Okay? Because you can potentially infect a lot of people. Between staff, between patrons, between vendors, if you have several different types of people coming in and out of the facility. All right? Do not store personal medication amongst food. That one is pretty much self-explanatory. Okay? Don't work if you have an infected, pus-filled wound. No. And I'm not, and I say this simply because you have people in general, and this is not knocking anyone, they are struggling to make ends meet. You have single parents that are trying to put themselves through school, that may have 1 child, that may have 6 children, that are working 2+ jobs while trying to school themselves, while trying to make sure, things happen. Okay? One of the reasons why we have better policies as far as taking sick days, taking family leave, is because finally the humanity has shown up in those wise individuals who realize that things happen. But now, granted, in my day and age, we had some diehards where if I'm still breathing and I can still walk and move, I'm gonna go to work. Yeah, but you know what? If I see ye old gash like this and it looks like like Frankenstein threw up on it, clean it out, go to the hospital, stay home. Okay? Not being funny, not making light of it. Okay? But you have some that will literally, because they know that they need the paycheck, they need the money, they will do what they can to hide and mask the injury. And that can be extremely, extremely dangerous, especially depending on the type of environment they're working in. Okay? If they're in a kitchen, if they're in a dining room, if they're in any type of support capacity in a facility where food is served, where drinks is served, where you're dealing with the public, whether it's senior citizens, regular adults, children, do not let them work. Okay? One way to address this, quite honestly, have uniform standards, and every shift conduct inspection. There is nothing wrong or illegal by saying, hey, we launder your uniforms in-house, we have these standards, everybody line up. Okay? We want to see if your shirt is clean, we want to see if the pants are properly hemmed, we want to see if you have on the right type of socks and this and that. Okay? Are you wearing a t-shirt underneath as you should by health code? Yeah, how many people know that? If you wear like a polo shirt or what have you, you actually have to have a undershirt on underneath when you're working. You can't just have on an athletic t-shirt or a brassiere, so to speak. Okay? You have to have on an undershirt that has short sleeves, minimum. Anybody know why? Out of here. Not everybody shaves. Most men don't. Some women don't. Natural. Okay? What can potentially happen? Not being gross, a little piece of hair can just fall out right on top of that omelet. All right? Do not use a hand sanitizer as a substitute for hand washing. Hand sanitizer may be used in addition to proper hand washing. Do not spit about while preparing food. I'm still having an issue with this. Not so much in the prep areas, but as they're getting ready to walk outside to take a break, in the trash can. It's gross. It's disgusting. Okay? It just is. Personal hygiene checklist. Now, some of this may seem silly, and I know that some of you may be laughing on the other end watching this, but ask yourself, did I shower or take a bath before coming to work? Am I sick with a fever, cold, or diarrhea? Do I have any infected cuts or burns? Are my nails clean? Okay? How many people here have manicures? Be proud. Show them off. Okay? Food production environment, guess what? Better get used to press-ons. Okay? Our kitchen, it's not allowed. We don't have to see nubs, but if we see nail polish, nail art, and this and that, and you're a prep cook or a line cook, guess what? Somebody grab the, what is it, Q-Tex? Nail polish remover? Oh, but I just had a wrapping done. Oh, you spent $50 on that? Okay, well, here's your choice. Take it off, make $50 more on shift, or go home and lose $210 for the day. I'll take the nail polish remover, please, for $200, Alex. Okay? Did I remove my jewelry? Am I wearing my hat, cap, or hairnet? Am I wearing all three? Huh? I know, yes, it is that magic time. So, all right, do not forget, hold on, let me put this back up here because I know some of you may not have written it down. All right, that is my email address. That is both of them. CUNY is up top. My business email is on the bottom. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you guys a little test. Okay? It is now 3:30 p.m. This goes to the same to our streaming, to our viewing crowd via streaming. Okay? I want to see a minimum of 30 requests for notes in my inbox no later than 9 p.m. tonight. Okay? Very simple. State your name, first name, and last name. Say food safety class in the subject line. In the main body of the email, hey, Mr. P, hey, Larry, hey, big crazy looking guy. May I have the notes? Indicate if you need them in English or Spanish. I have them in both formats. Okay? If you want both, I will give you both. If you want one, I will give you one or the other. All right? Cool? Now, okay, so there was like a really cute story. Years ago, Mom, do not visit me tonight and give me nightmares. But my mother was an attorney who later on in life decided she was going to become a minister. Okay? So, When she was at seminary, she had a classmate who, let's just say, some of you have been in like the Baptist church and stuff like that, right? And they play the organ and this and that when the minister's preaching. And she was kind of one where when the professor talked, yeah, ho, ha, yeah, yeah, preach, da, da. Okay? So in essence, their professor said, when I preach, the organ is silent. Okay? In my classroom, when I speak, the audience is quiet. We cool? Now, we have a sign-out sheet. Okay? As you signed in, you also need to sign out for your attendance to be properly recorded. Second session is next week. We have 3.5 units to cover. I will tell you right now, the food prep unit is relatively fast. All right? You may not want to bring snacks with you. We are going to be talking about roaches and rats and air gaps and vacuums and plumbing and stuff like that. It is going to get kind of nasty. Okay? I pulled most of the graphic images out because we had a few people, well, you know, they got a little sick the first time around. But it's detailed information that you guys need to know. All right, so sign out. Thank you very much. Make sure I get your request for notes tonight. So I have 31 people in this room, so I want to see 31 minimum. Not sure how many people are streaming, but if I have 31 here, I should see at least a total of 50 to 60 over the course of the weekend. Okay? You will all get your notes. I respond to each message personally. Okay? I enjoy doing it. All right? Thank you very much. Have a good night. If you have any questions, I'm here for, wow, really? My watch is about to die. Like about 20 minutes or so, I'll probably be off campus by like 4 o'clock. Yes?
Access to the live stream?
That actually, you have to be, you know what? Professor Dean could tell you that. Because there are